What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we've got some insanity going on right now. The left has just lost their freaking minds, and I know that kind of seems to be on repeat here lately. I keep saying they're losing their mind. They're going insane. They've just lost it. I don't know what's going on with these people, but, you know, we've been having this situation going on with Donald Trump, right? Get this. What president? Think about this for a second. Okay, so every single action Donald Trump has taken has had to go through the courts, right? It's had to be litigated for some reason. Every single thing he's done. Does the president not have any power anymore for some reason? Like, do these people really think that we made an entire executive branch just to have every action from that executive branch go through the judiciary, for crying out loud? Does that make any sense whatsoever? Like, they're trying to make the president just a figurehead. That's it. I swear to you, like, anything he does is getting pulled up. He's getting sued for it. Just outright. This is nuts, y'all. And this whole situation with the deportation flights is getting insane. They are trying to drum this thing up like it's the end of the Constitution or something like that. And these people are just losing their minds because this insane activist judge is trying to authorize something outside of his jurisdiction. Yeah, you can't do that, my guy. You cannot tell somebody that you have no authority over to do something or not to do something. It makes absolutely no sense, but that, once again, it's a constitutional crisis, y'all. Don't forget that. Judge Boasberg to consider consequences if Trump officials flouted court orders. This is just insane. But, you know, I'll give it to MSNBC on this one because, yeah, they didn't have the title in the headline for some reason, as you can see. I don't know where it's at, but this is from MSNBC. This is from their website. And I'll at least give it to them that they at least typed out Trump's argument on this. So we're going to cover it right quick just to break all this down. And then we're going to go over a couple of, a little bit of the Constitution, if you will. So buckle up for that, y'all. Check this out. A federal judge still has questions about the Trump administration's compliance with his orders, and the administration is still trying not to answer them. Yeah, that's because they believe, in their mind, they don't have to. As a matter of fact, I don't think that they do. Not on a situation like this. This is constitutionally protected activities that Donald Trump is conducting. And a judge absolutely has no say over this. And, you know, it also boils down to the question, why? Like, why? Seriously. It makes no sense why they are trying to stop him from deporting terrorists. It makes no sense. And they never mention that, as a matter of fact, when they're discussing this. Oh, Donald Trump is flouting court orders. Oh, he's disobeying the federal circuit over here. But they don't tell you why. Yeah, it's because this activist judge is trying to keep terrorists inside the country. This is what the corporate press, the mainstream news, they just don't tell you this stuff. Right, and make it look like, oh, Donald Trump is evil over here. Donald Trump is bad because he's flouting court orders. He's not obeying the federal circuit, y'all. But, you know, in this instance, I do believe he is well within his rights to do so, but let's keep going. On Wednesday, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg gave the government another day to get back to him on the matter. But his latest order suggests he isn't pleased or persuaded by the government's arguments thus far regarding its deportation flights over the weekend and its litigation conduct since then. Following a hearing on Monday at which the government didn't want to answer Boasberg's questions, the judge issued an order requiring officials to submit a sealed declaration answering outstanding questions about Saturday's deportations, which the judge had ordered halted while litigation continued over President Donald Trump's authority under the Alien Enemies Act. Now, I will say, just to get this squared with everybody, in case the corporate press, the mainstream news, or any news you may have heard did not tell you this. Okay, so these deportation flights started, right? that 2 flights took off. They were over international waters when this judge's order came down the pipeline, right? This judge does not have jurisdiction over international waters. So those flights that had already left were no longer under his purview. That's what this whole thing is about, right? The other flights with these other gang members, these terrorists, were halted. Those flights were stopped. They didn't go anywhere. He obeyed those orders as a matter of fact. Just to get that out of the way, just in case you haven't heard that. Yeah, the judge thinks he has the authority to stop military aircraft over international waters. I'm sorry, like, this just goes well beyond a district federal judge, right? Like, this was a foreign policy decision between 2 leaders of their respective countries. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump and Bukele, I forget his first name, sorry, the El Salvadorian president. They came to an agreement that the El Salvadorian president, he's got this big old prison, and he said, yeah, we'll take them. We'll take these guys. No problem. Right? Donald Trump agreed to pay him some money to take these people off our hands and deport them to El Salvador. That was a foreign policy decision between 2 country leaders, between the 2 presidents of these 2 countries. This plane took off, was over international waters when this judge's order came down the pipeline. I am sorry. You no longer have jurisdiction over this. Once again, Donald Trump complied. The remainder of the flights with deportees did not take off and are still on the ground. Those people have been detained in prison. They're no longer on those airplanes, of course, because it happened over this past weekend. But now they're trying to throw this all out there like, oh, Donald Trump defied the court orders. Well, actually, he didn't. Because first of all, it was a verbal order, right? Second of all, they had already left the country. I'm sorry, you have no jurisdiction anymore. You cannot tell Donald Trump's military what to do. That's not how the military works, by the way. And this is just all insane. And of course, it didn't help matters that Donald Trump gets on Truth Social and says, this guy should be impeached. And what's so funny about that, and I'm laughing this up, right? Because so everybody's just taking it so seriously. Like the news article I covered yesterday talking about Justice Roberts said, put out a statement, a social media post saying that, the proper recourse when you disagree with a federal circuit judge is appeal. You don't impeach. That's what he said, pretty much. Right? And the corporate press took this as one of those moments where it's like, oh, we got him. Like, it was a social media post. And that, like, I've been hearing nothing all day long, of people saying, yeah, you don't impeach a judge because you disagree with him, blah, 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 blah. Nobody ever said, like Donald Trump said that in a social media post, for crying out loud. Everybody's taking it so seriously, but it's funny. I mean, as a matter of fact, though, Congress does have the right to write up articles of impeachment on anybody that they have the authority to write up articles of impeachment on for any reason they deem necessary. That doesn't mean we have to take it seriously, right? We have some idiots in Congress, but still, that's never going to pass, y'all. Like, all of these people that are just freaking out over this, it is hilarious. It is funny to watch this, but these people are losing their freaking minds over this, and I'm just so entertained by all of it. Those answers were most recently due by noon Wednesday, but ahead of that deadline, the government asked Boasberg for more time. The request noted that the Justice Department is appealing his orders and said addressing his questions would undermine the executive branch's ability to negotiate with foreign sovereigns in the future by subjecting all of the arrangements resulting from any such negotiation, as well as the negotiations themselves, to serious risk of micromanaged. Yeah, they put micromanaged instead of micromanagement, and unnecessary judicial fishing expeditions and potential public disclosure. The government also said it's evaluating whether to invoke the state secret privilege regarding information sought by the judge. So what the Justice Department is basically arguing here is that this judge has no jurisdiction over this, because that would mean that anything and everything that Donald Trump does regarding foreign policy, that he would have to go through a federal circuit judge to ask for permission to do anything on foreign policy. That's what the Justice Department is saying, that this judge's order, the precedents that this would set, basically. That from now on, if this goes through, that anytime a president does anything on foreign policy, if somebody wants to sue, he's going to have to not do whatever he was going to do, whatever agreement. Like, say he's negotiating peace in Ukraine with Russia. Somebody says, nope, don't think the president has the, for whatever reason they make up that's within the legal realm to do so, right? They can bring that to court, and now Donald Trump would be halted. There would be an injunction from negotiating peace with Ukraine and Russia. That's what that means. That's exactly what I derive from that. That is insanity. It's beyond insanity. It's insanely psychotic. Like, there we go. Now we have a good analogy. It's just utterly psychotic to think the President of the United States does not have the ability to conduct foreign policy. Huh? That's what this judge is basically touting himself over. Yeah, this is nuts. It completely derails what the president is supposed to represent. He's supposed to be the executive, but they are challenging every single thing he is doing. I almost covered a story earlier that two men, as a matter of fact, were forced to be, by a activist judge, were forced to be transferred back to a woman's prison because of Donald Trump's executive orders. Yeah, Donald Trump had these people, because of his executive orders, they had to pull two men from a women's prison and put them back into a men's prison where they belong. And now that's being overturned. An injunction, a judge come in and said, no. Like, what have we gotten to in society where people think that just because you wake up one day and you feel a certain way, that everybody else in the world has to respect your emotions, has to respect your feelings? Right? Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. I'm sorry, I understand that the plight of trans people, right? I totally get it. You're having some problems going on here, right? You're not well. That doesn't mean that we have to placate to you just to make you feel better about yourself. You need assistance. We don't have to affirm your delusion to make you feel better. That's not going to help the situation. That's not going to help anybody. Because eventually, you're going to run into reality. And reality is going to strike you dead in the face with blatant disregard for anything that you feel on that day or have felt for any amount of time. It's just getting utterly insane out here. And I don't understand how these people have any sort of leg to stand on for any sort of argument. Like, where are your principles? Where have they gone? Have we just lost our ability to think on our feet, to think with logic? I mean, seriously. Like, I understand feelings, But, there's a vast difference between feelings and reality. You can feel it any way you want. But if reality disagrees with that, at some point, you're going to have to come to grips with reality. That you just can't go on living your life through a delusional lens and think, oh, yeah, everything's just going to work itself out. Eventually, you're going to run into a wall. It's absurd, y'all, but getting back to the story. In his latest order on Wednesday, Boasberg wrote that he wasn't seeking information for a fishing expedition, but rather to determine if the government deliberately flouted his orders, and if so, what the consequences should be. Boasberg expressed doubt about whether the government could successfully keep information under wraps on a state secrets ground, noting that it appears to be an uncommon occurrence for the disclosure of unclassified information to threaten state secrets. The judge questioned the purported danger raised by the government about giving him that information in private, observing that the government itself hasn't publicly promoted details of the flights. You notice that the judge and this news article is completely ignoring the argument that the Justice Department was making, right? That whole argument, that whole spiel I made a minute ago before I started talking about that other news story with the whole foreign policy situation. Yeah, notice they're ignoring that. Yeah, that's going to be a theme throughout the rest of this video. Yeah, just ignoring logic. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Everything will work itself out. Sure. And the fact that officials are appealing his temporary restraining orders doesn't affect the judge's interest in finding out whether the government violated them. He wrote that he's seeking information to determine whether the government complied with the TROs. Whether those TROs were legally defective or legally sound does not govern the compliance inquiry. Yep, and that's not what we're talking about here, because as a matter of fact, for every airplane, every deportation that was under this judge's jurisdiction, there is compliance. Once again, those two planes had already left the United States airspace. That's just how that is. And once again, they're trying to deny reality here. But once again, they're also ignoring the elephant in the room here. The most recent order followed Trump's call for Boasberg's impeachment and a rare public statement from Chief Justice John Roberts that reiterated that the proper way to respond to adverse ruling is to appeal it, not to try to impeach the judge. Boasberg seemed to acknowledge that broader issue in his order Wednesday, writing, "As the Supreme Court has made crystal clear, the proper recourse for a party subject to an injunction it believes is legally flawed, and indeed later shown to be so flawed, is appellate review, not disobedience." Once again, y'all, you have to prove that you have jurisdiction over that military aircraft that's over international waters before he has to prove that he complied or did not comply with your order. Whether Boasberg becomes officially convinced that such disobedience has occurred in this case remains to be seen. Hey, at least they're being fair with that statement. The administration has a new deadline of noon Thursday to answer his questions or to invoke the state secret doctrine. Boasberg has already expressed skepticism of how the latter might apply, but even if a state secrets argument is unsuccessful, it could buy the government more time, to the extent that delay is part of its litigation strategy. If instead it attempts to answer his questions, we should learn whether the judge finds those answers satisfactory, and if not, what the consequences of such finding will be. Yeah, that's funny going on right here. Yeah, we will see what he finds. Of course, he's not going to rule in favor of the Trump administration, but I did want to briefly get into the Alien Enemies Act here right quick, just to read this thing out and to let you know that, yeah, what Donald Trump is doing, he has full constitutional authority to do. And once again, getting down into the particulars, yeah, I believe it's incumbent upon this judge to prove that he has jurisdiction over international military flights. That's all I'm saying. Like, prove that. And then I will admit that, well, I even still I won't admit because, I'm sorry. Those planes that already left, It's ridiculously absurd for those 2 airplanes to turn around and come back because of a judge's order. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. Sure, he violated the order. I'm fine with that, as a matter of fact, because once you break down everything to the bare bones, this activist judge is wanting to keep terrorists in the country for some due process reason. Like, huh? Like, since when do criminal aliens get due process? Like, they broke the law to come into this country. We kick them out. No questions asked. As a matter of fact, I didn't say that. That was a quote from Hillary Clinton. But let's read this right quick. The Alien and Sedition Acts were a set of 4 laws enacted in 1798 that applied restrictions to immigration and speech in the United States. The Naturalization Act of 1798 increased the requirements to seek citizenship. The Alien Friends Act of 1798 allowed the president to imprison and deport non-citizens. The Alien Enemies Act of 1798 gave the president additional powers to detain non-citizens during times of war, invasion, or predatory incursion. And the Sedition Act of 1798 criminalized false and malicious statements about the federal government. Yeah, that actually passed Congress. That is a violation of freedom of speech. Did you hear that? The Sedition Act criminalized false and malicious statements about the federal government. So that means, I probably, for under Joe Biden's administration, would have probably fell prey to that, as a matter of fact. The Alien Friends Act and the Sedition Act expired in 1800, and the Naturalization Act was repealed in 1802. The Enemies Act, as amended, is still in effect as 15 USC. That is right. That is right. So, he most certainly has the constitutional authority to invoke this act, because, once again, they were labeled a terrorist organization, and their predatory incursion into this country allows the president, without due process, to eliminate the threat from this country. And get this, these activist judges want to keep these people here. Democrats want to keep these people here. This is why I am no longer a Democrat, y'all. It is insane. They have left the party of logic. They have left the bubble of logic. As a matter of fact, they are currently outside of the logic bubble as we sit here and speak, you and I. And they have been outside of that bubble for a very long time. They may make speeches that make sense at some points, but their actions speak louder than their words do, for the most part, and their actions speak a wholly different rationale. I'm not going to call it logic. Call it rationale, whatever the hell it may be, because I don't know what the hell Democrats in this country are thinking, right? It seems to be that they are so Trump deranged that they're just completely willing to throw logic out the window, all just to obstruct Donald Trump. Anything and everything he's doing. They're putting injunction after injunction after injunction. The president does not have the ability to fire people, for crying out loud. He does not have the ability to deport criminal aliens. None of these people said anything when Barack Obama was deporting criminal aliens by the millions. They said nothing whatsoever. But that was kind of before Democrats became completely insane and have lost it. This is all just ridiculously absurd, if you ask me. And I cannot understand this judge trying to pretend like he has the exact same authority that the President of the United States has. This blows my mind, y'all. And the corporate press, they are sucking it right up. And they're trying to make you think that Donald Trump is evil for doing so. Don't buy into it, y'all. Absolutely don't buy into it. Trust me, the vast majority of Americans, this is why we voted for Donald Trump, so he could deport criminals out of this country. And that's what he's doing. And your Democrat friends are trying to stop him. Absolutely trying to stop him. But I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Y'all let me know. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That would be the best way you could help me out, y'all. Share this video on X, Facebook, anywhere, it don't matter. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your boss, don't matter. Just share this video. That's the best way, y'all. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.